Well. Caught in the act here. Noah is still putting up the wall panels, so they're
No,
fresh.
it's done. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. They're nice and fresh though, so they should last, you'd think.
They should being the operative word.
Should being the operative word indeed. Oh golly. Um yeah, we gotta up my chair a little bit. I gotta lower my camera. Hang on.
This is the close up. You should just stay like this the whole time. I like
That was
this.
slightly alarming. Okay, here we go. No,
Alright.
I'm crooked now. Hang on. Okay. That's more crooked, isn't it? What the heck?
Yes, we're very well prepared for this.
Oh yeah. Don't even worry about it. Okay. That's great.
There you go.
No, it's not. I'm still crooked. Ah! Okay. This is the close-up Luke Miani show.
Okay, let's see.
I'm too low. I'm too high.
Oh. This is gonna be the whole show.
Yeah. No!
You're way too high.
So bad.
Your whole like top of your head's cut off.
Okay. Now stay. Okay. What am I doing, dude? What am I doing here? Okay, I'm just gonna. There we go. Whatever. It's fine.
That's fine, but I think
so low down. This is ridiculous.
it looks fine, but I would check your audio when you get a chance because I think it might have switched your mic.
Wait, did it? Is this good?
I don't. Just check real quick. It sounds a little low quality,
Oh my.
or maybe
No,
it's just me.
It's still set to the right mic.
Okay, then it must just be me.
You're a fool. Wait, let me just do an audio check here in my other tab, and then we'll go ahead and get started because I know that people love to start with like a good 3-4 minutes of troubleshooting.
Yeah.
Wait, you're right. There's something weird about this mic now. Because I just did an audio test in QuickTime and it sounded weird. What did I do?
Yeah.
I didn't touch it. Did I accidentally like?
Oh, this is the really, really close up.
I think I hit something.
Oh my. I did not like that.
Help! I don't know what I did. I don't know what's wrong. What mic is it using?
No.
It sounds weird and echoey.
Yeah,
Right?
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't
on.
sound like it doesn't sound right. Oh, he's disappeared into the void. Will he come back? Oh.
Hi.
Okay,
Still
is that
weird? This is the correct.
I don't know.
I mean, I just turned it off and on again.
It sounds kind of like maybe it's just me, but it sounds a little bit like compressed or like lower quality, but I don't know. People are saying it sounds fine. Maybe it's just me.
I know, but it always sounds. Okay, let me do another audio recording test because I know exactly what this should sound like.
Okay.
And that's not right. That's not right at all. What? Dude, what? No, that's because I have another clip here from this mic that I recorded for a sponsorship earlier today, and it sounds completely different. but we can't
Huh.
now use. Oh no! Is it? I can't possibly imagine because I looked up there on the camera and there are 3 buttons that could have potentially been pressed when I was adjusting it, right? Now those buttons are white balance, ISO, and the function that one doesn't do anything. Wait. Oh yeah, you're seeing that zoom. Okay, so that's not audio. Also not audio. ISO and white balance have nothing to do with audio. I'm going to unplug the mic from the thing.
Okay.
We're going to try that.
Okay. This is very exciting. Okay.
Does this sound better? How am I
Sounds
sounding?
It sounds the
What the
same to
hell?
me. I don't know.
All right, I just pushed the XLR cable in further.
I'm gonna turn my headphones off for a second. Let me just do this for 1 second. Hang on.
I mean, I can hear it too. I don't think it's your headphones.
Yeah, but everyone else is saying that it sounds fine. So I don't know.
I'm recording. Okay, I unplugged the XLR shoe mount that I use. How's that?
It might be better. I genuinely can't tell. If people are saying that it sounds fine, then I think it's fine. I don't know.
Hey, it's me. I'm back.
Let's go.
My gosh.
Let's just go with it.
Also, I think I've accidentally had this camera punched in for like the entire time I've been using it up here because I look way zoomed out now.
Yeah. Oh no.
Oh my god, dude, we didn't even start
This
yet,
doesn't even...
and there's already one going.
Hang on. Does that count? That can't count.
No, you got to put them up right now.
No, they need to go back up. Hang on. I was a little little
agree.
hasty as you might
A
have
little
seen.
hasty.
Literally everything is falling apart right now. This is not good.
Okay, no, it's definitely something weird because I just did another audio test and it's still not right, but we're just going to have to deal with it. I don't get it. I really don't get it. Also, I think there's one person saying that the color is off, but I think the fact that it's one person probably means that it's not on our end. So I'm going to just go ahead and we can just go ahead and get started here. How about that?
I think we have enough issues going on already.
Dude, literally, this is... have you ever realized that our entire podcast is just a complete shambles?
Yes, it is kind of funny.
It's kind of a mess, but that's... You know what? That's... I have nothing. I have no justification for that. Let's just get started, shall we?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to Dark Mode, the podcast that brings you sage technology advice from 2 technology experts, but that's not just what we call ourselves. It's what no one calls us because we've disproved that for the past 10 minutes. I'm your host / incompetent fool, Luke Miani.
And I'm your host / incompetent fool, Noah Rubin. On this show, we take questions from listeners, attempt to answer them to varying degrees of success. In this particular case, no success, and maybe even have a laugh or two along the way at our own expense.
Yeah, and dude, I apologize to all audio-only listeners that were not here to witness how I tried to adjust my camera and then hit my white balance button on the GH5 and somehow my mic is now messed up. So, I mean, your guess is as good as mine, and my guess isn't very good, so it's probably better. But yeah, here we are. Mr. N New Jersey says dropping knowledge and tiles. I would
That's
even
right.
probably drop the knowledge. I think we're mainly dropping tiles at
Yeah,
this point.
honestly. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And here's another comment. Broken podcast that should have fallen apart long ago, but it's Luke, so who cares? I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but I'm going to go ahead and pretend that it is. And then also shout out to Cole Weathers, who has perhaps an interesting idea for Noah to go buy
Mhm.
some white thumbtacks. Perhaps that would fix your wall problem.
That would be interesting if I could get them through this plastic. Then yeah, maybe they could maybe that could be an option. We could consider that.
Curious. Now, I wanted to start this off. This is a little bit dangerous. We're gonna wade into some dangerous territory here, but I was just talking with Travis from GadgetCast, and they talked about it on their podcast. So we're gonna talk about it on our podcast because this is just a knockoff of GadgetCast anyway, as we all know. So, more specifically, I was talking about this on Twitter earlier, and it's been on my mind. So I'm going to go ahead and try to do this in a way that's not calling out the name of the channel, but we are going to just show this little frame here. So I'll go ahead and share my screen, and I want to talk about clickbait, Noah.
Mhm.
Have you ever clicked on a video that was severely clickbaity, or is your YouTube algorithm a little bit more trained to your discerning eye?
I'd say in general it's pretty good. I'd like to think I'm pretty good at figuring out what's clickbait and what isn't. And of course there's levels of clickbait too, because there are videos that are legitimately interesting but maybe, you know, set up in a way that's kind of a bit clickbaity. But I would say I think I know what you're talking about. I think I saw this discussion on Twitter, and I would say that this level of clickbaity is not something that I interact with too much.
And I have to say, I think the tech channel, the tech community overall is, I think, pretty good about not doing too much clickbait. In fact, I've even started to think that most of us who do tech videos suffer from the opposite problem, which is trying to make your title and thumbnail so descriptive and informative that people don't then watch the video because they think they already know what the conclusion is, or because it doesn't seem very exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've been trying to find like a little bit of a balance, right? Because you want to make a title and a thumbnail sensational, but more importantly, you want it to represent the video, because if it doesn't, in the long run, that doesn't help you really. You just end up killing your credibility by posting nonsense.
Yeah, exactly. There's a balance between, you know, you don't want to give everything away in the title. You want to you want to have some interest. You want to have some unanswered question, because the viewer is going to click on your video to get that question answered. But of course, you don't want to lie, and you don't want to sort of tease something that is, you know, very obviously fake, or anything like that. And it's definitely a balance. And I think most people do a good job. I know this one channel in question, we've definitely I think it's come up once before as well, and I know they do some of this clickbaity kind of stuff.
And it's gonna come up once again because I saw one thing that almost killed me. So I'm just gonna go ahead and share my screen here. Okay, this is the right tab, and here we go. This is a YouTube channel. We don't need to get into anything too specific. Now, I almost have no words for what we're looking at here. I do have a word for that, though, which is, heck, we lost the wall panel already. Didn't you just put that one up 2 minutes ago?
Yes, and I also think it was a top one. It was not a bottom one, so that's kind of interesting.
Interesting.
I don't know.
Almost as interesting, in fact, as these thumbnails.
Uh-huh.
Um, I don't even know where to start. I mean, pretty much you could start with any one of these. Elon Musk versus iPhone 14. I'm not sure how that. What click wheel? An iPhone with a click wheel? What, dude? It's almost impressive that they've managed to come up with these thumbnails that are completely incongruous, absurd, and meaningless at the same time. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And okay, the one that really got my attention was New Mac Studio, What Apple Didn't Tell You, which is a pretty normal title, but then the thumbnail, they just like made it absurdly vibrant blue
Yeah.
as and like your thumbnail and your title should tell a story and they should complement each other. Now, that title is perfectly normal. You know, there's
Mm-hmm.
nothing really clickbaity about that. Lots of people, including myself, have made videos like that where we comb through the press release or the store page and we point things out that weren't shown at the event. I think I talked about how the M1 Ultra was 7 pounds, was not 7 pounds, was 1 pound heavier than the M1 Max. That's perfectly normal, and I'm sure that's in this video. But why is it blue? Who is that for? That is literally just there to be like, hey, click on
No,
this
no,
right
no,
now.
that's the secret blue color that Apple didn't tell you about.
That's what I'm wondering. Like, is that the implication? Because these thumbnails look like they were designed to do absolutely nothing other than confuse you into clicking on it. Like, look at this one, iPhone 14 secret features. Okay, there are 4 red circles. One of them is on the leaf of the Apple logo. One of them is on a blank edge. One of them is off center on the lidar, and one of them is off center on the microphone. What in God's name is that possibly talking about?
I'm sitting here. Oh no.
Oh no, you lost another one. We're down 2 already.
Yeah, it's time for some new tape. But I'm sitting here watching, like reading, like as you're like explaining this, I'm like trying my best not to laugh because like every
I
single one of these thumbnails is just like I'm sitting here, I'm like
Yeah.
trying not to make noise, but they're just so funny. Like every single one of them.
And you see, I think it's nice to be able to laugh at some of these, but at the same time, it is like, okay, I just looked at this one, new Apple Spring event leaks. It says something has been missing, and they filled in the bite of the Apple logo.
Yeah.
What is that? Or let's talk iPhone 14, and then they've made this fake thing where they zoomed in on Tim Cook's butt and very poorly photoshopped an old inaccurate render of an iPhone 14 into it,
Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
get 214,000 views on that. Or like this new iPhone next Tuesday question mark with what looks like a horribly disfigured iPod Nano from 2012. Or this one, dude, I swear to God, I have seen this exact thumbnail here. Where is it? It's the second row down, 5 to the right,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like this weird, hideous yellow, like piss colored phone with a camera that removes. I'm pretty sure they've used that exact thing. If we scroll down, I'm sure it'll show up again. I gotta find. Oh, there it is. There's one.
Oh, yep.
We keep going. We keep going. I'm sure it'll show up again. It's only a matter of time. Oh my gosh, these are just like, oh no, they have only used that one god awful rumor twice. But dude, this I it's fun to make fun of because it's so absurd. But on a more serious note, it is one of the most like greedy, lazy, insulting tactics that you can use to get views. Now, this is not saying anything about the content. I have no commentary on the content whatsoever. But if the only way you are able to get people to click is by tricking them and lying to them and manufacturing nonsense, then honestly, screw you, because that is just really an insult to the good people that want to just watch a video. They don't want to be put through the ringer with some nonsense bright blue Mac Studio just so that you can say the same thing that other people say. If you want more views, make better, more creative content. Don't lie.
Yeah,
That's my take.
that is a fair take. I think it's interesting because you scrolled all the way to the bottom and it looks like that channel used to do more like straightforward, like almost it looks like some tutorial stuff or some much more.
Yeah.
So there was like some reviews,
much
some
fewer views.
tutorials, and more and totally normal. Like these thumbnails look very normal, not clickbaity, nothing wrong with
Yeah.
them. And then at some point, I guess they switched over to clickbait, and I guess that works for them. Or some people were saying maybe they buy views. I have no idea about that, but something changed at some point. And I guess it works for them in some way.
You know what? Someone talking about buying views. I have also heard something about that, but we don't need to comment on anything beyond what we can see. You know what? I'm going to go with iPhone 12 secret button as the first of the really egregious clickbaity things. Oh my gosh.
Oh no.
What are we down? We're already halfway through the
already halfway.
We got to spread these out more.
I know. I'll hit the buttons less frequently that makes them fall down because this is all staged, of course.
Of course, yeah.
Of course.
Yeah,
and I know what they're
this
talking.
is like real life clickbait. We're just
manufacturing real life
drama.
Clickbait. Yeah, there you go. I know in that video, I know they're talking about the accessibility feature where you like tap on the back of your phone. Like I get, but it's not a secret but like I know some people have said that and maybe it kind of acts like that, but it's not a button.
It's
not
more of a
gesture.
Button.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, okay, that one I get, that's got sort of the sensationalist angle where it's not an outright lie. You're just sort of twisting, misrepresenting perhaps the way that it actually works. And it works for them. They got 1.3 million views, but I don't know. It does, maybe I sound bitter, but it does kind of make me grimace when I see thumbnails with a bright blue Mac Studio where there is arguably less information than in countless other tech channels, and they get twice the views of people that are actually imparting useful information. And that is just a little bit, it's working for them now. They're getting a lot of views, but in the long run, that is not a way to go. Lying, tricking your audience, and essentially treating them like suckers, you're not gonna go far in the tech community behaving like that.
Yeah, I would imagine maybe that these videos, maybe more of the views are from people outside of the tech community, maybe people who don't know any better, or don't know what what realistically is true or not. Like my favorite video in that entire list was the Apple cancels iPhone 14. That's my favorite. Yeah. Apple's gonna cancel the iPhone. Like, come on.
That one is probably one of the most egregious. I almost wonder, like, I'm not gonna put any video or audio from them in here, but I do want to go and see what in the world they were possibly talking about. And I might also mention that it doesn't seem like they're seems like they're already getting diminishing returns in terms of how many views they're able to get with these kinds of. Oh no, bro! Do you want to know what the first 4 seconds were? I'm gonna
Or
recite this verbatim.
okay.
Apple just canceled the iPhone 14. Just kidding, obviously.
Okay,
That is
that's
the
it.
very first sentence. Why? What is the point of doing that if 3 seconds into the video you're gonna be like, "Hey, I just lied to you." Ha ha ha. Ha.
That's it. So click off the video at that
Literally.
point. It said Apple's
What?
gonna announce, like it says Apple's canceling the iPhone 14. You watch the video for 3 seconds. It says just kidding. So that's it. That's the video. You're done. Let's move on.
Yeah, there we go. I got everything I came here for in 4 seconds. So that's pretty good. We're really losing these panels. Oh my god, are you kidding me? Bro,
This is a
okay.
mess.
It
This
is
is a
it is
mess.
9:16.
This is a mess. Oh no, we gotta move on before it all collapses.
Yeah, I'm eyeing my ceiling now. I'm kind of worried about it.
Yeah,
It's
I don't
concrete,
know.
but I don't know.
That would hurt.
Oh gosh. Yeah, there a lot of people are like, "Oh, just play the audio. We all know who it is." I don't want to get into any fights. I'm not here to start anything. I'm just here to spread a word of warning, that you might make your money off of it now, but it's not going to pay forward in goodwill. And I just don't think it's a good idea. So now let's move on to the iPhone 14, which did you know was canceled?
Wait, really?
Yeah, I saw it in a YouTube thumbnail, so it must be true.
Oh man, I guess we'll have to wait for next year.
Or wait, let me just check. Let me watch the video.
Okay.
Oh wait, hang on. Nope, it was all a lie. It was trickery, deceivement, tomfoolery, and shenanigans.
Oh, that's
The iPhone
hilarious.
14 is not canceled.
Oh, I want to watch more videos from that person.
Yeah, I want to watch more videos where the title and thumbnail are a lie that is then revealed to be a lie in the first 4 seconds before going on to talk about something completely different. That's a good
Yeah.
tactic.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about the Ming-Chi Kuo report. I don't know if you saw this, Noah. This was from just a couple days ago. Oh boy. Ring the bells, hang on a second. I have my closest bell-like object. Here we go. Ring the bells.
Oh man.
USB-C iPhone 15 in the works, claims Ming-Chi Kuo. Oh boy. Holy moly. That's ring the bell. It's empty, by the way. Don't worry. Dude. I can't believe it. It's finally happening.
I'm not 100% convinced. We've heard these rumors in the past and they haven't come up yet. I know
Ming-Chi Kuo.
I don't know about that. I know he's pretty reputable. Believe me, I would love this to be true. I'm a little bit skeptical, but I am hopeful.
Dude, I need USB-C everything. I just imagine a world where everything can just boop 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 connect to its dude, whenever I travel, I carry this one Anker charger which has 2 USB-C ports. It's like a 60-watt charger. I think I had it from a sponsorship video. Everything that I get from Anker for sponsorships, I end up actually using, including this, which I haven't sponsored yet, but that's what I use to bang on the Mac Mini. Anyway, that's beside the point. But I carry that thing around because it has a Lightning and USB-C put together. So it's like, okay, I can have my one charger and charge most of my stuff with it. But could you imagine if you could have one charger or maybe even two chargers still, but everything, mix and match whatever you want. You need to put juice in a MacBook, sure. Juice up your iPad, sure. Juice up your iPhone, your Windows laptop, even plug your display into that same port. Oh my god, USB-C is honestly, like, I mean, we all know that USB-C is the future, but can the future please come faster because it's so good.
Yeah, I think at least for me, I'd say I'm getting pretty close to that point, and it's really really nice to just have, you know, a USB-C port, and it'll work with my laptop, you know, my personal laptop and my work laptop and my iPad. It's so nice. I have like a Mac charger by my bed, and sometimes I plug in my work laptop when I need to charge it up for the next day. Sometimes my personal laptop. Sometimes I plug my iPad in there. Sometimes I plug in my external battery to charge it. Like all of this stuff, and you just have like I love just having like a charger stationed at, like, you know, in my room, by the sofa, couple other places, and you just plug in whatever you got to plug in, and it just works. And the iPhone is the last real holdout for me. Yeah.
Yeah, same. I mean, I just the fact that you can have the iPad and the Mac with one charger, um, it's just the way to go. And in fact, even with the new MacBook Pros that now ship with MagSafe, you might think, okay, well, this is kind of now it's kind of getting in the way of this perfect USB-C world. But I don't know about you, Noah. I actually use USB-C with my 16-inch MacBook Pro for the most part instead of MagSafe. There's a couple of reasons for that. One, obviously, it's more convenient. So I have obviously a plethora of MacBooks, most of which at this point are USB-C, which means I have a couple areas around my apartment that I usually charge stuff. It's either where I film or where I work. And I have a USB charger at both of those places. Easy. The only time I use MagSafe is if I need to charge one of the new MacBooks really quickly, because obviously I use those more often. And so if I need to really juice them up quick, I'll use that. But if I'm going anywhere, if I'm using any other device, or if I'm leaving it plugged in for a long time, I'll use USB C because I like that you can fast charge over MagSafe. However, we do have to keep in mind that if you fast charge something all the time, you are going to wear out the battery quicker.
Yeah, that's true. And I agree with you. I think the MagSafe charger is in my living room, although I haven't used it in a long time. But I have, you know, like right now my laptop is docked into the monitor and it's charging over USB-C. Same
Mm,
situation in my room. And yeah, in my backpack, I just have a USB-C charger because it'll work with other stuff, obviously. So the MagSafe is nice. I like MagSafe. Um, and I have no problem with Apple including it because they kept the USB-C charging as well. So you can do either one. And, you know, like you said, MagSafe is great sometimes, but sometimes, you know, USB-C is just better or easier, and you have both options. So that's great.
And another thing that people have pointed to in the past to say, oh, well, they won't put it on the iPhone is because USB-C is obviously thicker than the Lightning connector. However, I think the Lightning connector was almost certainly developed when Apple was, Johnny Ive run in the pursuit of thinness at all costs. Now that's not the case. I mean, if you look back after the iPhone 10, I think the iPhone 10 was thicker than the iPhone 8, if I'm not mistaken.
Mhm.
I can check this. So the iPhone 8 is 7.4 millimeters thick, which is really thin by today's standards. Holy crap.
Yeah.
The iPhone 10 7.7 millimeters. So very slightly different.
Hmm.
But then every year after that, the iPhone 11 Pro, that one 8.1 millimeters.
Mm-hmm.
The iPhone 12 Pro, that's up to 7.4. Is it thinner? I guess they did go thinner.
Hmm.
And then the 13 Pro is 7.65. I didn't think that the iPhone 11 was that chunky.
Yeah, I don't know,
Was it
but I
really?
guess, because the 12, with the flat sides, it probably looks thicker around the
Yeah,
sides.
that's true. And so the rumors for the 14 are that it will get even thicker still. At the camera bump, it's expected to be over 12 millimeters thick, which, to give you perspective, I happen to have within arm's reach the original iPhone.
Of
This
course.
is 11.6 millimeters thick, I think. So if we just go ahead and put them side by side here, you can see just how thick that is, even compared to what is widely considered a pretty chunky phone, the iPhone 13 Pro Max. Now, at the camera module, how close is it actually? Oh, wow. It's no. Dude. The so this is way thicker. The iPhone 2G is way thicker than the 13 Pro Max's camera. So that means
Hmm.
that we're going to be going from however thick this is at its thickest point to over 12 millimeters. That's huge, dude. That is
Yeah.
absolutely massive. Look at this. I mean, granted, it's only at the camera bump, but that is a thick phone.
That is that is really thick, and I wonder, uh, because the camera bump right now, it definitely protrudes a good amount from the phone. But if the camera bump itself gets even thicker relative to the phone, that could be the
Hmm.
camera bump's already like kind of awkward to deal with, especially if you don't have like a MagSafe wallet or something on the back. If it gets even thicker, yeah, that's gonna be like it's just like a growth coming off the side of the
It
of the
is.
phone. I don't know.
But you know what, Noah? It
What's
can't
that?
get thicker because the iPhone 14 is canceled.
Oh, that's right. I
And
forgot.
it's really hard to do because they're gonna cancel the iPhone. That's really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, the what more do you need than this? Do you really need an iPhone 14? They can wait another year, right?
Now I'm actually kind of curious now because I made a video and I can run you through my hypothesis, but I want to see if that video. When did I post my video on the iPhone 14? I want to see if that was before or after. Um, no, mine was after. Okay, so I don't think they talked about the same thing that I talked about, but essentially, here's what I think is going on. Apple's got this pattern lately of we get a new iPhone. It's okay. People like it. It's very positive overall, but it's not the most exciting thing in the world. And then we get a rumor, a leak of a prototype, a new design, a new display technology or a new chip or something big. And we're like, "Oh, yes. Gimme, gimme." This year obviously we're talking about John's leak where he had that really sick iPhone 4 throwback design with the flat camera, the titanium side rails, the small hole punch camera. It looked fantastic. And then we
Mhm.
ended up getting essentially a fatter iPhone 13 with still a notch on the 14 and then an absolutely enormous double bubble pill camera cutout on the Pro.
Yep.
It's huge. It looks like you could sink an oil tanker in that size of that camera bump.
Yeah, it did
And
look pretty big.
and people are understandably disappointed by that. They're like, "Ah, nuts. I really wanted that really sick design."
Mhm.
But we have to keep in mind, I think what Apple is doing here is giving us what we want, but never all at once. That's the trick. Because if you look back in the last couple of years, right? They gave us, everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, we need a new design." The iPhone 11 Pro, by the time that came around, and that was an evolution indirectly of the iPhone 6, right? So people were like, "Okay, can we get something new and fresh?" And Apple was like, "Yeah, I got you. Here's that new design you wanted." And then people were like, "Oh, but we thought it was going to have promotion." And Apple's like, "Don't worry, don't worry. Next year, you got it. You got your promotion." And also, we fixed the battery life. So now it's all good. And then people are like, "Well, we kind of also don't want the notch. We thought you were going to do something about that." And they're like, no worries, my guy. I got you covered. Just wait another year. We'll give it to you." That's how they get you. It's a 3-year cycle now, not 2. It used to be a tick-tock, right? iPhone 4, 4S, 5, 5S. But then 6, 6S, and 7 broke the cycle because they all looked basically identical.
Mhm.
But you'll also notice going from the 6S to the 7, what started changing? The camera bumps. That has been the only thing that changes design-wise nowadays, on like a year-to-year cycle. So we had 6, 6S, 7, right? And then the next year we had the 10. So 10, 10S, 11 Pro. Same design. Now what we have is the 12, 13, 14, and then next year we would get a new design. But because Apple knows that people would have absolutely lost their mind in 2020 if they announced a new design with promotion, with great battery life, and no notch, that every person on the earth would have bought that, because that
Mhm.
would have been like, that would have been like the iPhone 4 in terms of being huge. And it would have been great. We would have all had a great time, especially with iOS 13 or a 14 that came out at that time. We were like, "Oh man, sick update, sick phone, promotion, no notch. We are happy."
Yeah.
What do you do after that? Where do you go after that?
Right.
So the trick is, you take those features, you spread them out over 3 years. None of those phones are particularly, jaw dropping. They're not going to knock your socks off, but they're all good. They all have one feature that people really wanted over the previous one. Paint them a different color so that outside people will mainly buy it based on that. Let's be honest. And there you go. You have got yourself a billion-dollar business.
Yeah, that's a good point because I did watch that video of yours and I definitely agreed with what you said. Um, like, yeah, I mean, if Apple, imagine back when the iPhone 10 came out, if Apple had instead released the 11 or 11
Mm,
Pro or that series, or even when the iPhone 12 came out, if we got whatever the iPhone 14 is going to be, because that's essentially what it is, right? Instead of when they go to a new design, instead of releasing the best version of that design, they sort of say, okay, well, that version is going to be the third one, but let's take some of the
mm,
stuff off and that'll be the second one. And then let's take some more stuff off and that'll be, the first one that we release. So that's sort of, basically what you're saying. And it makes sense because if they were releasing the best version of the phone every time, then their cycle would be like 1/3 of the length because they have to release the best version of each design. They need a new design with all of the best features in it every single year. And first of all, you could argue, is that sustainable? Apple
mhm.
has tons of money and lots of R&D, but is it really sustainable for so long? And then why do it when you could just do this longer term one? And they're not releasing bad phones, they're releasing good phones,
Mhm.
right? They're just spreading out the features, they're taking their time, and they're making more money that way. So why wouldn't you do that?
Yeah. And I think honestly, I go back and forth in terms of understanding and cynicism. Cynically, you could look at this in terms of essentially intentionally preventing an iPhone from being as good as it could be. And that could be a bit of a bummer if you are super into iPhones. But the disappointment in tech enthusiasts is almost certainly worth it when you look at sales and when you look at stability. And this is something that, as Michael pointed out, doesn't every company stagger improvements like this to some degree? Absolutely. And I think it's also important to note that some amount of that is going to be inherent, right? Like it's not like Apple planned all of this out in 2007 and they've just been like unlocking new features, right? There is technological advancement that goes on and that takes time and you can't do that every single year. So on a like a 5-year or a 10-year term, it's not like Apple has it all figured out already and there's a lot of stuff that has to get worked on and developed. But on a year to year basis, there is absolutely, you know, okay, this feature is really cool, but let's wait on that one. We'll do that one next year so it can be better. And then this year, and keep people invested in it. It was the same thing that they came up with the S cycle, but now we're drawing it out over 3 years or even 4 years, mixing features between multiple design generations. Like you would imagine, would you not, that going from, in the past, you went from the iPhone 7 to the iPhone 10, and that was essentially okay, new design means new everything. No more home button, new display aspect ratio. We're going to use OLED now. We're going to change up the back of the phone. That sort of meant everything gets redesigned. But with iPhone 12, that wasn't the case because the notch didn't change all that much until now with the iPhone 14 ostensibly, but the iPhone 14 doesn't get a design change. So we've got this TikTok, right, where nothing is going to really be the super cycle. I think the idea of a super cycle is something Apple would probably rather avoid. A super cycle just means, uh-oh, next year is not going to be good. Shareholders are going to get nervous and our stock value is going to go down.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's kind of what happened with the iPad Pro. And we might have discussed this before, but I think they said that the
Good
iPad
point.
Pro shares were upgrades or whatever were down. And I
Mhm.
think everything else was up, but the iPad specifically was down. And I think, you could argue about iPad OS not being powerful enough and other things, but at least for me, and I think for you and for a lot of,
Mhm.
well, I mean, you buy them because you're a tech YouTuber, but definitely for me and for a lot of people, the iPad Pro in 2018 was such a huge update, and it was such a good thing, such a good product that even now in 2022, I have zero desire to upgrade mine.
Absolutely. I think Apple does have a chance this year because what they need to do is time it so that they know that those of us who have 2018 iPad Pros are going to start to experience a little bit of battery slowdown. That would be the only issue that I have with mine.
Mhm,
I do
mhm.
think it runs out of battery pretty quickly. The standby battery drain is pretty noticeable because I'm not a super frequent iPad user. So if I leave it for 2 days, it'll go through half its battery.
True,
Mine's
true.
like yours is one of the original 2018s. Totally base, Wi-Fi only, so it's not like it's got cellular networks draining the battery.
Mhm.
Um, so I do think that is going to be a contributing factor that will get some people eventually to upgrade.
Yeah.
But I think that's a great point, Noah, because the 2018 iPad is so good that there's no reason to upgrade. I mean, the M1 11-inch iPad I think is a good example of that because it's 899. No, it's 799. And what can you do with that that you cannot do on the 2018? Well, it has an ultra wide camera. Don't really care about that. Not that useful beyond a few very niche instances. LiDAR maybe could be useful, but the 2020s also have that, and those are refurbished. Same with the ultra wide camera. Center stage is nice, but again, I'm not going to pay extra for that. I'm not going to upgrade just for that. Same with the M1 chip. I don't care about the M1 chip. The A12 is fast enough. So it's like that's really the only differences. The screen on the 11-inch, it's not mini LED. And even the mini LED, I don't think was enough for me to upgrade on the 12.9-inch iPad Pro because it's not any like it. I think Apple did create a super cycle with the iPad Pro. And then the problem is, unlike on the iPhone, they didn't have any other features to give it. Like
Yeah.
they completely were like, another camera. Yay, buy it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
people were like, no, not really. It's just, I mean, I can't even imagine. Like when you look at the iPhone, I think it's very easy to generate a couple of, any of you here. We can try this as an experiment. I want you, Noah, to generate 5 things that you would change about the iPhone that would compel you into purchasing a new one.
Okay.
I'll give you a moment to think if you want.
Okay. I have a couple of ideas. I might think of some as I go along.
Perfect. Fire away.
Well, obviously, USB-C, like we discussed, that's basically a freebie, but that is definitely a big
course.
one. What else would I change about it? Definitely,
And it can be aesthetics too. Like that's valid. That can be a thing.
I definitely think that a new design would not that there's anything wrong with the current design, but I like to have the latest technology. And so if there were a new design, like a noticeable change, then I feel like like nothing's wrong with this one, but that would be interesting to me. So that is an answer. New design. What else? I mean, battery life is always and my battery life is pretty good so far, but battery life is always something that you can improve. What else would I change about it? I don't know. Are you thinking of any other ideas?
I got a few.
All
Yeah.
right, let's hear them.
So first of all, and there's no real limit on like scope of these, right? They can be pretty out there. So mine would be no visible intrusions into the display. So under display camera, under display Face ID, totally seamless.
Yeah.
I would also want no camera bump.
Yeah.
Thicker phone, slim down the camera bump, thicken the rest of the phone, meet it in the middle, and have a completely smooth back. That would be one that would, I think, bring a lot of benefits, including better battery life, which is another thing on that list. USB-C obviously is one. Titanium side rails would, I think, be a really nice look. And I think also going to a brushed look instead of glossy, in terms of, being someone who uses my phone without a case. Those glossy rails you can already see here are, they get smudged up pretty noticeably.
Oh yeah.
So that would help with that. I mean, you can kind of generate ideas like this, but if we switch gears, to the iPad, what additional things would you want out of an iPad to make you upgrade?
Genuinely, the only thing I can think of, and this wouldn't make me upgrade, but I know that there were some rumors about Apple making it uh, horizontal orientation by default instead of like moving the camera so that you would hold it horizontally. That would
Mm,
be a welcome improvement. Wouldn't get me to upgrade, but it would definitely be a welcome improvement because I use my iPad almost entirely in horizontal orientation. Um,
yeah.
but other than that, the only way that I could ever see needing to upgrade is if it loses iOS support, which it shouldn't because it still runs just as fast as it did. Or
Mhm.
what really would make it happen is if iPad OS gets more powerful to the point where you actually need more power because the iPad Pro
Mm.
is so overpowered right now. If you needed more power to be able to do whatever it is that iPad OS could potentially do in the future, then maybe. But as it stands, the iPad is, I really can't think of anything, honestly.
Yeah, I was also going to say the same thing about the horizontal camera, because when you use the iPad and you try to FaceTime with the current camera orientation, it looks ridiculous. You
Yeah.
basically are like this. You're
Yeah.
like, "Hey Noah, I'm talking to you even though I'm at a 45-degree angle." Like,
Oh, hey, what's up?
oh yeah. Yeah, no, it's not intuitive at
Yeah.
all. So that would be a big one. But again, I agree with you. I would not upgrade just to get that.
Hmm.
Now, OLED display. That one might compel me. If the price weren't to change dramatically, an OLED display would definitely be of interest to me. Now, we have heard some rumors saying that they're going to do a glass back with wireless charging and potentially MagSafe. So perhaps the key with the iPad is something that we haven't thought of, which is a broader array of accessories
Hmm.
paired with updated software. So I could foresee that as being some option. But I think the key point here, Noah, is that apart from the camera location, the upgrades that we proposed are just things that we would like. They're
Hmm.
not solutions to problems. With the iPhone and the Mac, the things that we all want to keep us upgrading are solutions to problems. They're things that don't quite work or that we would like to see that would be better or that would make our use case more ideal. But with the iPad, I personally don't think there is anything that like any core function that it doesn't do, at least with the current state of iPad OS, that would necessitate needing anything more. And that's why Apple is definitely having a hard time selling these things.
Yeah, it's funny because I was trying to like go through because like we came up with plenty of ideas for the iPhone. So I was like, well, surely some of them must apply to the iPad as well, right? But not really because like it already has USB-C.
Mhm.
You could talk about the bezels, maybe they could be smaller, but like when you have an 11-inch screen and the bezels are like they're not that big, and the screen, 11-inch, 12.9-inch screen is so much bigger than the bezels that it like really doesn't matter. Even the
Yeah.
camera bump, right? The camera bump is such a small little corner of the iPad that almost doesn't really matter. Like all the stuff, there's no notch. I don't even know what else we were discussing, but like all those things like that you can think about for the iPhone, they just like don't apply to the iPad, and the iPad
Yeah.
doesn't really have its own unique issues other than the orientation thing that we considered. And I guess you could say, yeah, it doesn't have OLED. For me personally, maybe if I did a side by side comparison with like the MacBook Pro or the iPhone, maybe I would notice and say like, oh, that would be nice. But as far as I can tell, at least the iPad screen still looks great. So I don't know.
The only thing that I could think of as being another iPad Pro 2018 situation would be if Apple absolutely nails a foldable iPad.
Interesting.
Cuz currently I think foldable phones are a little bit unnecessary, personally. But if you look at a 12.9-inch iPad Pro, if that were to fold in half, and of course, this is Apple we're talking about, so it would have to be super clean, work every time, no like weird issues where you can see a crease. Like they'd have to do it right. But that would actually be a very interesting product. You could do a lot with that, I think, because I've got a 12.9-inch iPad somewhere. Here it is. I have not used this in months because, quite frankly, the 12.9-inch iPad Pro I think is a little silly right now. But this could maybe fix it, right? If you talk about a 12.9-inch tablet, it's big. This is a big boy. I mean, hello. But
Mhm.
if you were to split this down the middle like that, maybe it would be a taller aspect ratio if you were to do this. But if you split it down the middle here, all of a sudden, pretend that the bottom part here doesn't exist. All of a sudden here, that looks like a really tiny laptop. And that would be cool because you could use it in laptop mode, right? With half of the screen down here as like a keyboard, and then the top half could be propped up with your content on it. Both halves touch screens, be like a giant Nintendo DS. Hell yeah, that would be sick. And then you could unfold this tiny little device into a 13-inch screen. I think that would actually be pretty sick, and I would probably buy that. Even if I didn't have a specific use for it, I just think that that would be worth buying. I think that would be really cool.
That's a really interesting point because I didn't even think about foldable. Obviously, in some ways it's an out there idea. We haven't heard any rumors, obviously, but of course there are other tech companies working on this. Of course, Apple's working on it, in
Oh,
some
yeah.
stage, somewhere internally. No question about it. Apple's working on it. But it's really interesting because, I have an 11-inch iPad Pro and I like the 11-inch because it's a good balance between like the 12.9 is just really big and you're
Mhm.
definitely getting into laptop territory at that size. The 11-inch is a good balance of size and portability, but still being a large screen, definitely a much larger than an iPhone and much larger than than anything of that size, right? But I think if you had a 12.9 or a 13-inch screen that you could fold in half, you kind of get both things, right? You get the portability
Exactly.
part, which I like about the 11-inch, but then you also get the bigger screen when you unfold it. So that actually, and I don't know because I don't use my iPad all that much, but like that would be compelling. That's definitely
Mhm.
something that I would want because then I would go for the bigger size screen and just be able to fold it up. So that's really interesting.
Yeah, and I mean, it seems like some people here are talking about, not really having that much interest in foldables, and I definitely agree that it's a little bit of a fad. I don't think there's that many actual uses. It seems definitely gimmicky, but that's why I think, if Apple's going to do something, with a few exceptions, they tend to keep it not that gimmicky. And so with something like a foldable, it would have to have a very specific and well-defined purpose, because a lot of the way Apple operates is based on marketing and researching what would work for a market. So if it's something that's just going to appeal to tech nerds and YouTubers, Apple will not make it. Apple is not in the business of creating, CES showstoppers. That's not what they
Mhm.
do. So if there's going to be an Apple foldable, it's not to make a foldable and be like, "Wow, we made this thing. What does it do?" Don't worry about that. Apple doesn't operate like that. They would be very laser focused on like, okay, this is a mass market solution that real people, actual consumers, not just nerds that go to tech shows, would actually buy.
Yeah, and I think the iPad would be an interesting place to do it as opposed to like the iPhone, because a lot of the
Mhm.
foldables we've seen, especially the ones that come to market, are for phones. And I know there have been rumors about foldable iPhones, and I'm sure that there's one somewhere in Apple Park that we may or may not ever see. But the
Mm.
iPad is interesting because when you have the foldable phones that you can actually buy, they're very thick when they're folded. Some of them have, I forget if it's the Galaxy Fold that I'm thinking of, that has like 3 screens. That has the 2 on the inside, or I guess it's sort of 1 on the inside, but then it has the one
Yeah.
on the outside, and the one on the outside is like super tall and narrow, and the phone's super thick when it's folded up, and like all of that stuff. And when you look at the iPad is really thin, and it can
Mhm.
be because there's like a lot of surface area to put the battery and the components and all of that stuff in there. So it's a really big thing. And the iPad, if that were folded up, I wouldn't necessarily expect there to be a screen on the outside. I would expect to unfold the iPad in order to use it, whereas with the phone, it
Yeah.
might be different. So I feel like the iPad could definitely, like, if you take the current thickness of the iPad Pro and you doubled that, because that's what it would be when it was folded, double that, maybe, 2 and a little more times as much, it still wouldn't be that thick because the iPad is,
Yeah.
really thin right now. So like that, I could see it happening. Whereas if you took the
Yeah,
iPhone
definitely.
and you made that twice as thick or 1.5 times as thick or whatever, that would be a thick phone to put in your pocket all the time.
Yeah. And it's also about, the thickness versus scale.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can have a half-inch thick laptop, 13, 15-inch laptop, and it's radically thin and light. But if you have a half-inch thick phone, it looks like a cinder block.
Mm-hmm.
So with the iPad, if that folded in half, you're talking about a device that would be, when folded, about 5 inches by 8 inches in footprint. And so it could be a little thick, and it would just kind of look like a large Microsoft what's it face? What's that foldy thing that they have?
Surface Book.
That's the one. It would just look like a larger, probably more attractive Surface Book, and no one would really bat an eye. With a phone, like realistically, I guess what everyone would want would be a phone that's like the size and shape of an iPhone that unfolds, which means it would effectively have to be half as thin. That's
Right.
just not going to happen. So, foldable phones are bound to be bricks when they're shut. But if it's a little bit bigger than that, if it can be a laptop, it kind of unlocks more possibilities. So, I don't know. I'm definitely looking forward to that. Um, but I'll tell you one other possibility that
What's
could be
that?
unlocked:
What's that?
the possibility of ending the show a few minutes early because I know you've got to run.
That's an interesting. I think we could unlock that possibility.
Would you like to unlock that now?
I would like to.
All right. Let's do that. I've been your host, Luke Miani.
And I've been your host, Noah Rubin. Have a great night.